On your mark. Get ready. It's time to go the distance. For sports news and sports review, get ready. It's The Pitch.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Pitch. As always, I'm your host John Fox, alongside here with Mitch Sabbatelli and Mike Peps Perrone. Now, first topic of the day, the Houston Astros defeat the LA Dodgers in a World Series in 7 games. Thoughts on this epic World Series? We will start with you today, Mitch.
Well,
Go.
For my money, it was the best World Series I have ever seen. I've been a fan since 2001, and you know the Diamondbacks-Yankees series was great. Obviously, the Red Sox series for my own bias in 04 was great. But as far as just sure baseball fan entertainment, I think the series brought baseball back. And, you know, football was escalating themselves to the next level of sports and entertainment with fantasy and betting. And they were the clear number one with the NFL money. But this baseball entertainment has really brought the sport back, and it's really good for the game of baseball. I think Houston, they probably were the best, most complete team the entire year.
Definitely.
People always want to bring up the Cleveland Indians 22-game win streak, the Dodgers streak, but they had some falls. Houston was just really good throughout, and they did what they needed to do. They were lacking that big veteran presence at the deadline. They went out there and got Justin Verlander.
That's why they.
Their one big injury in the beginning of the year was Correa, but he was healthy. And that core four of Correa, Bregman, Springer, and Altuve not only is probably the best 1, 2, 3, 4 in the game, but will be for the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
And Springer, with all the battles that he's dealt with in his own personal life, to come back and hit 5 home runs and do what he did, driving in 11 runs, he was far and deserving of the MVP.
Definitely, yeah.
Very good bullpen, but those 2 dominant pitchers at the top of Keuchel and Verlander really catapulted the win.
I think it was a great win. I mean, the Astros pulled it off, and I mean, I thought they would personally, anyways, against the Dodgers. I didn't think the Dodgers were going to win. I think they're the better team, maybe like on paper, in a sense of like what they accomplished in the regular season. I guess obviously with the 104 wins, but I think it was a great win for the Astros. I think Springer joining a special class, hitting 5 home runs in a World Series is definitely MVP deserving worthy.
Definitely.
And also just, I mean, it was a great series to watch. I mean, I love the fact that back-to-back World Series going to Game 7s, and it's just it's great for the sport, and it helps. And I love watching the series, and it was pretty nice to see Verlander step up in huge situations, and the hitting from the Astros, just be able to take down the Dodgers, was just a huge key to that win.
I mean, that Game 5 was the greatest. I think that was the best game of baseball I've ever seen in my life.
That was unbelievable. Everybody kept coming back.
It was just home run after home run.
Tie
And
game,
you know,
lead changes.
you had 4 runs off Kershaw, and Kershaw's
Unbelievable.
pitching. You think, okay, the Dodgers going to win. And that home run by Gurriel is probably the most clutch home run I have seen since Ortiz's home run against the Tigers.
Here's the thing that I think did them in. I think the biggest issue here, honestly, I mean, not the biggest issue, but an issue that I noticed was, I feel like Dave Roberts it was great that he was aggressively involved with trying to take his pitches in and out.
Yeah.
He did too many pitching switches for me.
Yeah.
I think he overanalyzed the game to a point where he psyched himself out.
I think he was trying to out-coach AJ
I
Hinch.
disagree with that game that they ended up losing, where they brought in Kenley Jansen to pitch a 2-inning save when you know, it's not his situation at that point to really come in. I know they trust him, but I don't think they should have brought him in the 8th.
Your big strength was your bullpen, and like you said, he was overanalyzing the game. I agree with Dave Roberts. He tried to make it between him and AJ Hinch, and AJ Hinch managed the whole entire postseason perfectly, bringing in Verlander when we brought in David Price. But how about Carlos Beltran winning a World Series?
Yeah,
debuted
finally.
in '98.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say,
40 years old,
I do believe that whole, you know, from tragedy to triumph with that whole Hurricane Harvey thing, similar to
I think that's
2013
awesome.
with the Boston Marathon.
Yeah,
It
very similar.
Really
Awesome.
helped the Red Sox, and I think the Hurricane was great for the
One
city.
player that's
great for the win, yeah.
One player that's not fairly obvious right now for the Houston Astros that stepped it up. Go. One player that just went above and beyond.
I think
That's not like George Springer. That's not Altuve.
He's still a premier player, but Alex Bregman, I mean, really, and Gurriel, you know, the guy is 32.
Yeah. Gurriel was huge.
Gurriel
I also
was,
got to say, Brian McCann caught
Yeah.
a very phenomenal
Called
World Series.
really good.
He
I'm
made
say-
some very huge calls on pitches that got some batters out, and he kept
gonna
going to
say-
the mound, making sure, checking in with his pitcher, and he stepped it up big time when they needed him to.
I agree with that. I'm going to say for myself, I'm going to say Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he
that's
brought
great.
his
That's a
ERA
great one.
way down. Like
That's
you
a
look
great-
at him
that's
in
a
the
great
regular season,
Yeah.
he's a pitcher with an above 4 ERA. He's like an average pitcher. He really locked it down for this World Series, and I loved his play.
I would say Alex Bregman too. For going, he was batting
Oh,
low.
yeah,
he
no,
was
yeah.
batting low in the lineup to begin the year. He came up. He was drafted just 2 years ago.
Did he hit
number
three?
one.
Did he hit like 2 or 3 home runs in the whole World Series?
Yeah, but number one, and the big moment really just did not phase him at all. He was hitting clutch moment after clutch moment. A big, huge hit in Game 5 for Alex Bregman. Gurriel had that huge home run, which I think was the most clutch hit in the entire series. And like you said, Charlie Morton, great. But Verlander really shut him down.
With this core of those 4 guys alone,
Core
I
four.
think they could just get to the ALCS every year for the next
Yeah.
5 years
Yeah.
easily.
All right, talk about it.
Yeah. So, are we gonna
Do
talk
something
the
about
Dodgers
it.
here? All right. But yeah.
All right,
as far
well,
as- go ahead.
You want to
Yeah.
move on to the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the Dodgers. We'll stick with you, Peps, for this one.
Yep.
How can the LA Dodgers rebound from this?
I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be all right. I think the biggest issue is the fact that they're going to re-sign. They got to try to re-sign you, Darvish. But the problem is you don't want that price point to be too high. But I think it's going to be. But biggest thing I think re-sign Darvish. And the thing is they got Seager, Turner, Taylor, and Kershaw and Bellinger locked up through 2020. I think that's huge for them that they have that. That's a very nice core for them. And I just think that with, Ethier is going to be gone. They're not going to pay him $17 million to stay. No. I think they're going to have to get a setup man for Kenley Jansen, a very solid setup man to make them, to elevate them a little bit. And I don't know if they're going to bring back Forsythe or not. I think they're going to have to go upgrade for second baseman because I don't know if they're going to pay him the $8.5 million. But I think they'll be okay. I just think their biggest key thing right now, I think, is to re-sign Darvish. And if they do that, then I put him in the NLCS conversation from that kind of thing, and making sure they get some keys offensively with the lefty bat in the lineup to elevate this team a little bit more.
I think with the Dodgers, I think they did everything well this whole year. They built up such a big lead. They had guys like Wood come up there and really try to bolster this rotation. And, Kershaw really needed that stable guy, and it was Yu Darvish. They went out there just like Houston did, get the other starter. And that really goes to show you what that trade deadline can do for you in the future, that current year. Because Verlander and Darvish are huge pieces to these World Series teams. Yeah. But yeah, like Pep said, Taylor and Bellinger and Seager. Bellinger and Seager is probably one of the best young 1 and 2 combos in the game, right up there with what Houston has. And I would put both these teams right there. Probably Houston's right there with Cleveland as the top 2 teams in the AL. And I would say Dodgers are right there with the Nationals and Cubs as a top 3 team, probably the favorites again. And like you said, they're all kind of locked up. Bellinger is incredibly young.
So would you say that the Dodgers will make it back to the World Series next year?
I've been picking the Nationals for the last 2 years. I would stick with the Nationals, but I can easily see them winning.
Yeah, I'd give them the NLCS at least. Depending on what they do with Darvish is a big thing to me.
I also think this whole thing with Kershaw, it's got to be taking a toll on Kershaw because he always gets to the playoffs and just completely doesn't perform. He had a couple good games here, but they really needed him in the last game, and he got that 4-0.
Well, he's best friends with Matt Stafford.
I'll tell you right now, though, I can't really blame Kershaw at all.
They have a thing for getting to the playoffs and not performing.
He pitched 4 scoreless innings.
No, but I'm talking about Game 5. I'm talking about Game 5.
Yeah,
okay.
Game 5 with the actual game that he started.
That's true. But I'll tell you right now, I think they should have started Kershaw in Game 7. I think he should.
Darvish was absolutely horrible.
I think Robert should have started Kershaw in Game 7. Honestly,
I think so.
I think he should have. If he started doing bad, take him out.
If you were going to bring him in anyways, I would have probably started him, like you said.
Don't wait till 2 innings. 2 innings, you're done.
Because that game was over after 2 innings.
Yeah, it was 5-0.
Darvish was. That's the other thing. Darvish, as much as we want to give Darvish credit, he really just didn't perform in Game 7.
He was absolutely terrible.
No, he didn't.
And that game was over by inning 2.
Yeah,
definitely.
But as far as next year, I think both teams are going to be completely fun, young, great.
Yeah, Astros are going to be a team to be forced to be reckoned with for a while.
Okay, nice. All right, moving on to the next topic, NFL. We have our top 3 matchups of the week, and game number 1, matchup number 1. The Vikings are at the Redskins this week. Who would like to take this one first?
I'll take it. I'm glad we didn't do the pitch last week because I would have picked the Seahawks is my lock against the Redskins. The Redskins really showed me something.
Kirk Cousins did not throw a single touchdown, and they won the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
He made some big plays.
When they need it, though, they get it. I think the Jay Gruden, as much scrutiny as he's been getting in his last couple of years, with the amount of talent that he has in this team, which is very lackluster, I think for him to be, still in conversation here is pretty good. I'm going to say the Redskins win this one at home. I think it's going to be a big game for Cousins. I know they're going up against Rhodes, but the Redskins don't really have that number one receiver.
The Redskins really don't have any receivers,
They
choose not to.
I think it's terrible.
The Redskins don't have any receivers, and they choose not to use Terrell Pryor because they don't like his ethic.
They have three really good players, and that's Vernon Davis still, Jordan Reed when healthy, and Chris Thompson.
Jordan Reed when healthy, but when is that?
Yeah, that's true. But Chris Thompson, one of the heroes for the Redskins
Chris Thompson is.
When Cousins gets in trouble, he chucks it down. I like the Redskins line and that defense, that up front with Ryan Kerrigan. I think it's really going to put pressure on the Vikings. Whatever the quarterback is, whether it's Keenum Bradford or Terry Bradshaw. The Vikings, for some reason, they did the same thing a couple years ago. They go up, they win 5 games in a row, and everyone thinks, oh yeah, watch out for the Vikings, and then they really do bad in the second half. I think that's going to happen again. I think this is the first start to that slide. Like I said, that quarterback play is not that good. I like the line, and I really like 2 players on that defense, Xavier Rhodes and also Everson Griffin on that defensive line. He's
I know the Redskins are at home, but they really have a terrible mixture of things on offense. They have really no run game. Yeah. They have really no pass game. I mean, it's just checkdowns to Chris Thompson all the way.
Exactly.
So I really don't know how I could take them in this game, even at home.
I have to take them after that. It was more of the Seahawks lost the game. They missed 3 field goals. Yeah. But when it comes down to it,
Russell Wilson threw a similar.
You can never underestimate. This is why that game scares me. That game scared me in general. Is you can never underestimate a quarterback that is on a contract year in a desperation time of his career where he has to win this game.
Right, but he hasn't been performing.
He hasn't been performing, but they're all athletes, they're all players, and they're all there to compete. And he is a competitor, and he's proven to be a pretty consistent quarterback, I think, for the most part. And they should pay him his money. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, I think that the Redskins will win. I never realized that their defense is actually very solid. I like their cornerbacks. They're tougher in the pass game and pretty underrated defense to me. The problem is, like you said, receivers. You need to utilize your receivers. You need to stop focusing on Josh Doxson. You need to go give your guy and give Jamison Crowder the ball. You need to pass him the ball. You need to get him open across the middle, break open the defense, and then start with your running backs.
He was their guy.
That's what I think. I think you need to give Chris Thompson more handoffs. I think you need to stop messing around with Rob Kelly. If you want to throw him in there for a couple of power first downs, after that, don't mess around for second and third. Give it to Chris Thompson, your playmaker. Give it to Crowder, a playmaker. Give it to Pryor, if you can, your playmaker. Yeah. If you don't want to use Pryor, whatever, but you have to use some sort of receiver. I think Crowder's the perfect guy that Cousins has been comfortable with over the past few years, and they need to start utilizing them or they're going to be in big trouble and they won't win that game against the Vikings. But I think they will pull it out because the Vikings quarterback situation is very skeptic, and also they can defend against the pass anyways, so I don't see how the Vikings are going to score a lot of points against that defense when the Seahawks only mustered up 14.
Real quickly, I agree with everything that Pep said. The Redskins' offense really works as kind of like a poor man's Patriots. They have the Crowders, the Vernon Davis is up the middle. They have the pass catcher in Chris Thompson. But Fox, I have a question for you. Would you say who's a bigger fantasy upset, Jameis Winston or Terrell Pryor or somebody else?
I'm going to have to say Terrell Pryor. I picked you second. Thanks. I'm going to have to say, it's really not even his fault at that point. It's Jay Gruden's fault.
Jameis Winston's a huge bust. They were all talking about
how coordinator's fault than Jay Gruden, I think.
I don't know. I've heard that Jay Gruden really isn't fond of him, really isn't fond of his worth ethics. But I'm going to say for a guy who was on the Browns with nobody, who just converted from a quarterback,
who
posted a 1,000-yard season
and catch a touchdown in the same game.
Yeah.
He's very versatile. You have to utilize a guy like that. You can't just sign him for money and not play him.
Yeah.
For Josh Doxson, I don't care if you draft him. He's going to be our guy.
Yeah, and he's going to be our guy. That's fine. Not use him.
But you can't just upsetting. You can't force him into the role. You got to utilize who you have around you. You know what I mean? Like they should utilize Pryor and Crowder more. I think it's a waste. Redskins, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be the odd man out, and I'm gonna go Vikings. All right. Game number 2, the Cowboys are headed into Falcons territory. Cowboys-Falcons, this is a huge game because they're both underperforming right now. They're both where we didn't think they would be at this point so far. Week 10. I
like the Cowboys in this game. I don't think the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys, they've underperformed a little bit, but some of their people got hurt. The defensive players are starting to come back. That pass defense is starting to lock down a little bit more each week. They're starting to develop a little bit more. And I like the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will be a contender pending Zeke's holding on his status.
Is Dez hurt?
The Cowboys will be, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah,
I have to
think
check
he's
that during the
questionable,
week.
but I think he'll play.
I mean, when it comes down to it, I think it's Prescott's team, and I think that he's going to go into Atlanta and, the Falcons, who are playing very mediocre. Yeah. They look like that team that – they look like the team
that ran into the Patriots.
Yeah.
They look like the 28-3. We can't get over the Super Bowl Falcons, and I really think that they need to change it up. And I don't think that Sarkisian's getting it done. I think they need to do something about this because he's on the hot seat right now, and I think Quinn's gonna make a move, and I think he'd be the first one to go. I don't like that Matt Ryan has 9 touchdowns to 6 picks. They're forcing the ball to Julio. They're not getting the job done right now. I mean, I just don't like the team, and I think they're going to keep it up against a Cowboys team that is on a mission right now with having Zeke week to week as motivation to win every game that you can, because once he's gone for 6 games,
that's true.
He ain't coming back till playoffs if this is the case in the next coming weeks. I think the Cowboys will win this one in Atlanta.
I love what you're saying there, and I like the point with using Zeke as a motivator. This is a very coin flip game. I'm going to disagree just because the Falcons are at home. I think the Falcons need this one more than the Cowboys do. The Cowboys, they got a good win against the Chiefs. As much as tough as that play was when Tyreek Hill, they were on prevent, and they let Tyreek Hill score at the half for no reason. The Falcons need to get back to what they were doing last year. And I think the loss of Kyle Shanahan and his offensive coordinator is really affecting them. Their whole game plan was trust their run. They have the best two-headed monster with Freeman and Coleman. Wait for Julio to get open if possible. If not, use the run. And then complement that with Gabriel and Sanu. And they are not doing that. Like Pep said, they're forcing the ball to Julio. Yeah. They're not running as effectively.
Gabriel has
Sanu's their best receiver this year, pretty much.
Gabriel has not been there.
He's been like
as well
the
as
most consistent receiver.
I'm going to say the Falcons win this one just because they need to win this one. If they lose this one, they have an outside chance of making the playoffs.
I know they face the Saints twice coming up.
Yeah, so they need this one, and it's at home. I think the Falcons fans are going to be ready. Big matchup there. You know, Cowboys, America's team versus a team that's all under scrutiny for being on a Super Bowl hangover. Yeah. I'm going to say Matt Ryan, as the MVP, pulls this one out against Dak Prescott.
All right, I'm going to agree with you with that one, and we're on to the game of the week. Game number 1, the biggest game of the week. The New Orleans Saints are marching into Buffalo Bills territory. Who do you think will take this awesome matchup? Yep. We have the Saints, who are on a 6-game win streak, started 0-2.
Yep.
Bills were 5-1, and they've lost the last 2.
Bills
correct?
Are undefeated at home also.
Have the Bills lost the last 2? They were 5-1, correct?
They lost the Jets.
Yeah. They lost the last 2.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to take this one first? We'll start with you. All right.
The Bills, I would hate to be a Bills fan, just because right when you're ready to really think, okay, maybe we can have a chance. You lose to the Jets. Yeah. I mean, you went out there and got Kelvin Benjamin, which I actually do like
Jets
the move.
Are playing hot, though.
But they lost. They let Stephon Gilmore go, which actually looks like a good move here for the money. But losing Ronald Darby really hurt going to Philly, and he hasn't even really been playing for Philly. So once they get him, they're really going to be a show on defense. But the Bills, they get Kelvin Benjamin, but Benjamin has had some issues with playmaking systems.
Yeah, like where was that? Where was that from? Like out of nowhere. Yeah, absolutely nowhere.
But there's been a lot of issues with Benjamin with Carolina, not knowing what the plays are going to be run. Like he's having some really serious issues with that system. So I doubt it's going to translate as much to Buffalo. Although Tyrod is kind of the same kind of quarterback as Cam, just not as big. I'm going to say the Saints win this one. They look like they're back for real with the play of Drew Brees. They get Willie Snead back. If they can get Willie Snead, bringing him into this offense like they haven't for the last 2 weeks, I think that's really going to help.
And they've been doing fine still. How many points are they averaging? Like 20, 28?
Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn.
Michael Thomas has been absolutely
best
beast
in the league, definitely right now.
That's very valid.
What
Ingram and Kamara.
Yeah.
Kamara is huge for that team.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I love the Saints. I believe that they're going to be I think they could be in the NFC Championship. I think they could possibly go to the Super Bowl with that defense. That defense is a big play defense. They make big plays, and they make like a lot of fumble recoveries and all that kind of stuff. They're not huge. They get sacks here and there, but they're based off of, we need a big play on defense, and then we got Breeze, and we're going to tear it up with our running backs and everyone. They have a ton of weapons. But for some reason, I don't know why, but I think this is one of those situations where a hot team goes into a cold Buffalo and gets upset by the Bills, who just lost a rough game at home to the Jets.
How do you lose that game to the Jets at home, though?
The Jets have been playing well. I don't understand. I started Buffalo's defense. I was very depressed to watch that game.
I was in Vegas and
But
put money on Bills.
I think the Bills are going to come back. I think McCoy's going to have the opposite of the game he had last week. I think he's going to go off against the Saints defense. I like the Saints' passing defense has gotten better. But, I think Tyrod with the running and McCoy with that, and then not knowing what Benjamin's going to come into in the pass game could throw the Saints off for a little bit of a loop, with Zay Jones emerging a little bit more, and possibly having Charles Clay back this week.
Yep.
Yeah, that's big.
I think that the Bills are going to pull out an upset. Their defense is going to be big in this one. I think that Drew Brees is going to have a good game. I think their team's going to have a good game. I just think that the Bills are going to stop them to a decent amount of field goals. And I think that the Bills are going to pull this one out, say by like a 1-point victory kind of deal at home. I think it's going to be an upset. The Bills are undefeated at home, and I think that continues.
One thing that nobody's really talking about the Bills is their rookie cornerback, Tre'Davious White, has been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league.
Yeah.
So he could possibly shut down Michael Thomas. So I expect Ted Ginn to have a big game, and I also think Willie Snead's going to have a good game. But Drew Brees, he's going to get his yards regardless. So whether that's Kamara or Ted Ginn,
I just think the Saints are rolling right now.
He's going to utilize that backfield.
Said, though, the Bills do need a win.
They do. They definitely do. But I'm going to go with the Saints.
I am too.
The Saints have too many weapons. I just feel an upset. I think the Bills are going to pull it off at home.
All right, we're running pretty short on time right now, so we're going to do fantasy football advice right now. We're going to go
just
one each right now. We'll start with you. We'll go down the line this way.
After what I watched last week, to be honest with you, as I thought, and when I dropped them a few weeks ago, Houston's defense, I think that's rough. You shouldn't be playing them, I feel like, really anytime soon. But, the thing is with what my point is here is that I would start Jared Goff against Houston's defense. He just erupted against the Giants. I know they pretty much had no cornerbacks. I don't consider Rogers Cromartie a real cornerback. He's pretty awful.
Yep.
And Jenkins suspended. I play Goff. They just went off for 51 at the Giants. I think they're going to rip right through the Texans defense this week, and I would play Jared Goff, and I'd play all your Rams. I think that the Rams are going to stomp all over the Texans. Brissett just threw for 300 yards. I don't remember the last time I've seen him do
300 yards, 2 touchdowns.
So, that could have been almost a career day for him. So, the fact that that happened, I don't see how you don't play Goff. I'd say start Goff.
I'm going to be really quick because we have to get basketball quick, but this is your big trade. A lot of leagues has this as your trade deadline right now. If you have 2 wins, really quickly, you need a win right now. This is the pivotal week where if you are under 3 wins, you're not going to make the playoffs. So if you have 2 wins, and let's say you have Mike Evans suspended, or if you have Cooper or Tyreek Hill on a bye week, I would definitely trade whatever you can. And for an example for that, if I have Mike Evans and I only have 2 wins, I would trade him for, say, a Doug Baldwin for the rest of the year, just to make sure you have a good, better chance of winning this week. And because it's worthless if you're not going to make the playoffs.
One big player to trade for, I also wanted to just say quick, is I would trade, they could probably get for on the cheap, if you might be one of those 2-win teams, is go get Kareem Hunt, because I don't see how he, if 9 touches is a low and 4 catches is a low, I think Andy Reid started to realize after the Cowboys game he's going to utilize his rookie running back a little bit more, even if he doesn't want to wear him out. He's going to have to go back to Hill and Hunt. And Hill had a good game, but I think that they got to go. I think that Hunt is a good guy to go get out in the cheap right now.
All right, and really quick for me, if you're looking for a quarterback this week, you absolutely need a quarterback. I'm going to go with Eli Manning. I know that sounds horrible, but he is facing the San Francisco 49ers, who are the second worst against quarterbacks. So Eli fares pretty well against these type of defenses. In the top 5 worst, he has averaged well over 20 points in regular scoring fantasy leagues. So with that said, we're going to move very quickly. We only have under 5 minutes left. We're going to move to the NBA. We're going to talk about the Boston Celtics right here. Started 0-2 after that tragic Gordon Hayward loss in the first 5 minutes of the season.
Terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since then, 9-game winning streak. Let's talk about this. We'll start with you, Mitch.
All right. What Brad Stevens is doing with this team is absolutely phenomenal. They're the best defensive team in the entire league, best at defending the three-point. But I want to say one thing. Everyone's talking about this chemistry with Kyrie Irving and Al Horford in the pick and roll and that 1-2. The fact that we have an actual defensive stalwart strength center in Aaron Baines and also Daniel Tice is really helping out Al Horford's play. The fact that he doesn't have to rely on Tyler Zeller or Amir Johnson as his second guy, he can now play a little bit off of that underneath the rim, kind of move to the perimeter. And thing that's really helping. I'm going to say right now, though, Cleveland is still the best team because of their depth. And they haven't even had Isaiah Thomas yet, so we can't really make that comparison.
Yeah.
The injury to Hayward gives the Celtics another $8 million worth of cap to play with at the trade deadline, which I think could happen. But I think Kyrie is finally coming into his own, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum really light it up.
Definitely.
One quick point about the Cavs. I mean, the thing is, when you say they're the best team in the league, you're not going to be the best team in any league.
No,
I get what you're saying. You think I agree with you on that one. But the problem is, when you're giving up 115 points per game in 10 games, that's not going to get you anything. You need to play some defense, and you need to score more than.
Or you just need to add more superstars to your team.
What the Celtics are doing is opposite of what Cleveland has. They have 3 guys that need to score a bunch of points, and the Celtics have 6 guys that are averaging 10 points plus per game, pretty much, essentially.
You look at their box score, it's like 11, 12.
For a team that was supposed to be a small team, they're top 10 defensive rebounding. They've given up 92 points a game in the last 9 games in that streak. I mean, their defense is phenomenal. They have 6 guys that are averaging an offensive rebound per game. You have Burns with he gets 2 per game. Yeah. And I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, you have Brown and Tatum averaging 15 and 6 for the season. I mean, that's a great addition to Kyrie's 22. Horford's averaging a double-double. Yeah. I mean, the team's clicking on all cylinders. They're distributing the ball, and Kyrie was that guy you needed. If this was Isaiah instead of Kyrie, those numbers would significantly decrease for all these people because Kyrie makes everybody better.
Yes, he does.
He's the cog in the machine that makes it flow.
Totally agreed. 100% agreed.
Having him and then having these young players develop and Tatum developing so quick like he is, I think that's great for the Celtics. And they keep this up with they have 5 guys scoring 10 plus points per game. Like, I mean, the thing is, when you have that kind of depth, you're going to win most games.
They're a top 2 team in the East, but the third best team might be the Bucks.
All right, and moving on to the final topic of the day. Eric Bledsoe today was traded from the Suns to the Milwaukee Bucks. Thoughts on this?
Eric Bledsoe is a shutdown defender, and that's what the Milwaukee Bucks needed. They're really, really big.
Antetokounmpo
is a 7-foot point guard. They got Thon Maker.
Say that 5 times fast.
Chris Middleton, really good defensively. But Bledsoe, he wasn't working out in Phoenix. He said he wanted out. So move him to the Bucks, relatively cheap. Greg Monroe, bad contract. Give him a first-round pick for Eric Bledsoe. Now you instantly become a top 3 team and potential to be a top 2. Throw Bledsoe with that big 3 of Middleton and Antetokounmpo, as well as getting Jabari Parker back. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
I think it's a nice trade. I think it's what the Bucks needed. They need that kind of distributor, and I think he'll be very good for them on defense. Very solid. But the biggest issue, I think, for the Bucks is going to be their shooting needs to improve significantly if they're going to be a top 2 team in the East.
But I think
I don't give them that credibility.
And gets, they can play Brogdon off the ball now. They can have Chris Middleton shoot.
Especially when you have Giannis. I mean, anything seems possible with the way he's been playing.
But Giannis is not a shooter, and he got to stop thinking that he is a shooter. He might be in a couple of years, but right now he's one of the best players.
He's still getting his points one way or the other. Well.
All right, so that pretty much sums it up for this episode of The Pitch. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, the works. And until next time, folks, keep it real.